Hey guys, it's Victoria and welcome back to Femhead. Today I want to talk about the transition into motherhood, and I decided to do a Q&A. So I asked you guys some questions on my Instagram. If you guys don't follow me, I'll put it down here. I already filmed this video once. It was over an hour of footage and it was just kind of all over the place. And I had a giant chunk of hair that was like just really bothering me, so I was like, I can't post that. So now we are rocking the space buns. I think my hair is out of place. Postpartum hair loss regrowth is in full effect. Like, I have so many baby hairs, it's crazy. That's one thing I didn't expect was postpartum hair loss. So I tried to categorize the questions, so I'll put like the time stamps of the different ones down below. So let's start with emotional, mental. The first question is, did I find myself getting emotional over my baby growing? Definitely. I get so nostalgic and sad looking back at photos of Theo when he was an itty bitty baby or newborn, or just like even a couple months ago. He's 9 months old today. It's such like a bittersweet thing because obviously I love the stage he's in now and I'm so excited for all the things he's going to learn how to do in the future. Seeing his personality come out, imagining what he's gonna be like as a toddler, as a kid, as a teenager. Like, I can't ever picture having like a teenager or an adult child, but I know it's gonna happen someday, and it's just really weird to think about. And I get very nostalgic for those like first few months, and while it was so hard, it was so deliciously beautiful at the same time. So I do get emotional thinking back. Emotions because of hormones are a definite thing. The postpartum period, like we'll say the first 3 months, are just such a tricky time because it's such a beautiful time and there's so many sweet moments and you've got this precious little child. You're emotional because it's hard, you're emotional because your hormones are rebalancing, and you're emotional because your body hurts. Like, there's so many different reasons. And I cried a lot in the postpartum period, but I didn't let myself get down about that because I knew it was like normal, but I was also aware to keep my eye out if something did feel a bit abnormal emotionally, and I never experienced that. Mental health and self-care is very important, but also there's some days where all you're going to get done besides taking care of your baby is brush your teeth. And you might not even change your clothes. You might have the same like ratty updo, and that's okay. But I think it is important to ask for help where you can and accept help when it's offered. Take time for yourself. The days where I would just get dressed in like a different pair of leggings and sweatshirt, taking a couple minutes to do like a skincare routine, just doing that made me feel better. It doesn't have to be some extravagant thing. You don't have to go to a spa and get a 3-hour, deluxe spa package, but just finding the moments to take care of your body, I think, are very important. The transition to motherhood when you're highly sensitive and have a tendency towards depression. I think if you know you have a tendency towards depression, you have to be very aware in the postpartum period, because that is most likely when something's going to happen because your hormones are all over the place. It's very important to have your partner in the know and maybe some people close to you that you spend time with so they can be looking out, because sometimes they might see something or notice something about you that you can't see yourself. And so just to say like, hey, you've got to help me out here. If you do know you have a tendency towards depression, make sure you're checking in with your healthcare provider. Make sure you're checking in with people and keeping an eye on it. Are you happier now, or is it hard to say? I would definitely say I'm happier now. There are times where it's hard and times when I fight with my husband, times when I'm annoyed with my baby, but overall, I'm very happy with where I am in life right now. Okay, moving on into the losing yourself being an individual category. I would say this is where I had the most questions. Losing time for yourself and hobbies, how do you cope? You definitely lose a lot of your time because you are taking care of someone, and it's really just about restructuring your time management, I would say. You're going to not have time for certain hobbies or certain activities, but you can carve out time for yourself, and I think that's very important. Do you still see your body as yours? I definitely see my body as my own. I'm trying to remember back to the early like breastfeeding days of whether I felt like, I would say not so much with breastfeeding, but when I was exclusively pumping, I got really frustrated and emotional, and I didn't feel like I had control over the situation, especially when I felt like my body wasn't doing what it was supposed to be doing with milk production. That was really frustrating, and I kind of felt like my body was letting me down. But I would say at this point, and for several months now, I definitely feel like my body is my own again. Your perspective on time, thinking you have too much or not enough before motherhood. You definitely go through this adjustment of feeling like you have so much stuff you need to do or you want to do and you just don't have enough time for it, and you definitely have to reprioritize and really figure out what is important for you to get done each day. Sometimes having an immaculate house really doesn't matter. How can I be most efficient with my time? What actually needs to get done? and what are these unrealistic expectations I'm putting on myself that really don't matter and I can let go of. And then questions like, how has it affected your independence and freedom? What do you do when you have time to yourself now? I would say I definitely don't feel as free and independent at this point. It is very easy for me to leave Theo with Michael. It was harder in the early days, especially when I was breastfeeding. We just had to like time it around his feeds. What do I do when I get time for myself? Every now and then I'll take like a bubble bath after he goes to sleep. I started listening to the Harry Potter books again because that's the only way I can read books these days. And so I'm on book 3 right now. My plan is after listening to each book, I'm gonna watch the movie. So that's been something I've been doing by myself, for myself, either just like self-care, work, Harry Potter. What have you learned about yourself? Do you feel like you've grown as a person? How has your life perspective changed? I've discovered that I have this mindset that I should be able to do it all, and I'm trying really hard to let go of that and to accept help where I can, or to share responsibilities of caring for Theo. And I've gotten so much better as he's gotten older. I don't know, it's just this idea that like, you should be able to do it all, Victoria. Like, you should be able to care for him. You should be able to cook healthy, nutritious meals. Your house should be clean and you should be able to get all your work done. Like, you can't physically do all of that in one day. And so just understanding like I have to let that go, ask for help, and like share the responsibilities instead of just saying like, no, like I got it, I can do it, because that's not going to get you anywhere. How do you deal with parental responsibilities when you might be having FOMO? This is a very real thing. And another question that goes along with that is, do you ever have selfish moments and miss pre-kid life? Definitely. And this is totally normal and okay. It is okay to miss your freedom before having a kid, because it is a stark contrast to your life, especially in that newborn phase. Go from not having any kids at all to having a newborn and being postpartum is such a harsh change that you do find yourself daydreaming about all of your freedom and all the time you had beforehand. Like, I will watch YouTube videos of people in their like younger 20s or 20s, just people that don't have kids, and all the things they can accomplish in a day and all the things they can do, and I get so jealous of their freedom and their abundance of time, as it seems. So that's a very real thing. Okay, the next one, the mental load gets me down. What systems or routines have helped the most? Getting your baby in some sort of routine. And when you say here routines and schedules, it's not like super strict. Like, Theo definitely has a schedule and a routine, but it varies like slightly day to day depending on like what time he wakes up, what time he last ate, and those sort of things. But knowing roughly around the times that things are going to happen help you just accomplish so much more, because you can say, okay, I know Theo is going to take 2 naps a day, and usually they last an hour to 2 hours long. Sometimes they're only 20 minutes. Sometimes he'll skip a nap. On the whole, I know I usually get 2 naps a day, and then I can plan my time around like, okay, what do I want to do during his 2 naps? What can we do together? When can we go on a walk together? Things. Oh my gosh, I'm burping up lettuce. I went through a period of time where I was feeling very overwhelmed with feeling like I couldn't get it all done and feeling like I should get it all done. And so I took the time and wrote out what are the most important things that I wanted to accomplish in my personal life and with work, with FemHead each week. And when I broke it down to what the essential things were that needed to happen and not like the irrelevant fluff, it is much more manageable when you actually just write it down instead of just letting it swirl around your head that there's so many things to do. Surprises. A lot of these were, what was the most unexpected thing you were confronted with? What surprised you the most in pregnancy and after birth? What was more difficult and easier? What had you wish you had known? So those sort of things. There were some postpartum things that you knew it was gonna be hard, but it caught you off guard. Healing from tearing. I mean, it was only like a week or 2 of like actual pain. And there was one time like I ran out of Advil. I cried a lot because my vagina hurt and my perineum hurt. I think the shock of I didn't have my freedom anymore, that upset me, then made me feel guilty. And that just whole like tornado of emotion caught me off guard. One thing that surprised me kind of in pregnancy is the last month is hard. Your body aches, you're so uncomfortable. How's it gonna go? Is it gonna hurt? What's it gonna be like to like not sleep anymore? Oh my God, I have to pee again. My body just hurt really bad. I don't know if you guys remember, but like I got a lot of rib pain, lower back pain. Obviously you gain weight when you're pregnant, and gaining weight when you're pregnant is a healthy thing. But especially towards the end, we were gonna go to a friend's swimming pool and none of my swimsuits fit. I really wanted to go float in this pool because my body hurt so bad. And I remember like Michael coming up and being like, are you ready to go? And blah, blah, blah. And I just remember breaking down and just telling him like I felt terrible about myself. I didn't look anything good in anything. I didn't have a swimsuit that fit, and I ended up wearing like a sports bra and spandex shorts, and it was fine and it was great and it felt really good. And actually on my due date, we went to a friend's pool, and I'll insert a picture of it here. And I sat on a unicorn. One thing that really surprised me after giving birth to Theo was how quickly my body went back to like looking like I hadn't been pregnant and hadn't just given birth. Like it only really took a week. I was expecting like months for my body to get back to a pre-pregnancy state. Like it's different, it's fine. What do you wish you would have known? Pretty early on, I learned about sleep schedules, taking care of babies. Like I talk about it all the time, and I feel like I'm just like jamming it down people's throats, but I'm like, teach your baby how to sleep from day one. Like it's possible, it takes time, it's not gonna happen overnight, but I can't recommend taking care of babies enough. Even just reading her blog and following her on Instagram, like so much information. I wish I would have pumped from the 2-week mark. I wish I would have built up a stash of breast milk, because in my mind, I was like, breastfeeding's going fine. We're always together. When I'm not together, I'll just pump for him and, leave bottles. So I really wasn't pumping anything extra, and I will definitely 100% do that for future kids, because I ended up kind of screwing myself over in the end because I ran out of breast milk. It's not the end of the world. Like when I finally had to give Theo formula, it was just this weight had been lifted off my shoulders, and I was like, what was I so stressed about and so emotional about? Like it is a very emotional thing, but it was such a relief when it just finally happened and I could just let go of it. How do you survive the lack of sleep, especially in the early days? It is amazing how little sleep you can function on. I know people get annoyed when you say like sleep when the baby sleeps. Like obviously not every single time they sleep you're going to sleep, but give yourself a nap or two a day, especially in those early days. Like you are healing from giving birth, from being pregnant, from like providing for this child. Like it takes so much energy. Making sure you're drinking enough water, eating food, coffee. You can have a cup of coffee a day, but then also teaching your baby how to sleep. So when they're sleeping at night, you're also sleeping, and it's not you holding them while they're sleeping, having them sleep on your chest, sleep in bed with you while you're not sleeping. How did you figure out breastfeeding? Your thoughts on breastfeeding and your journey. I have a 10-week-old and it's so hard. You have to be very determined with breastfeeding. I know there are so many different issues that people go through. Make sure when you're in the hospital or early on, if you give birth at home, that you visit a lactation consultant or have one come to you, just to make sure that everything looks okay and is going okay. I had 2 lactation consultants visit me in the hospital, but I never fed Theo in front of them. And I don't think that like messed me up down the road, but I wish I would have. I went and saw a lactation consultant like after he had gotten sick. We were like bottle feeding and stuff, and he was 4 months at that time, and he was just so distracted feeding. And so I felt like they couldn't get a good gauge of like how he was latching and how much he was getting because he was just so distracted. So make sure you utilize lactation consultants. I personally, while it lasted, had a pretty easy breastfeeding journey. There wasn't really any issues of like how he latched. Never got cracked, bleeding nipples. Had a little bit of nipple pain early on just from them like getting used to it. My one regret with breastfeeding is that I didn't pump and create a stash, and that it didn't last longer. But it is what it is, and you can only do your best. Be vigilant, but also be kind to yourself. Adjusting to a new normal. Any new daily routines that have helped settle into being a mom. I'm much more structured with cleaning, time management. While Theo is napping, is when I work on FemHead. We'll all eat dinner together at night, and then Michael and I will come up and put Theo to bed, do his little bedtime routine and everything, and then we go downstairs and we clean up the kitchen, the dining room, the living room. That way in the morning it's clean downstairs. So I find that helps. Which of your daily habits had to change for good once Theo was here? My morning routine. I used to be all about my morning routine. I'd wake up early, I'd make a cup of coffee, I'd do my morning pages, I'd like meditate, do some yoga or go on a run, and I sleep in until Theo wakes up right now. And usually that's like 7:20, 7:30. And then we go down, I make a coffee, I make him his bottle of milk, and we sit, and as a family we watch news. Well, he doesn't watch news. He like eats his bottle. I don't journal anymore. Biggest change to daily life is just how much time it takes to care for a baby. One thing that I have found really helpful that I've been trying to do for the last couple months is giving him time to just play by himself and not constantly feeling like I need to be down there interacting with him, and just letting him create some independence, nourish his ability to be alone and to entertain himself. And that's been very helpful because he can, play by himself and I can get some stuff done. Was it hard to set boundaries, like family and friends giving advice, touching Theo, etc.? No, people are very respectful when it comes to your baby, especially newborns. So if you set those boundaries early on, they just kind of carry forward. Things like people washing their hands before they hold him. People don't just show up at our house. I feel like that's kind of normal to ask before you to go to someone's house. Being able to say no to people is a very good thing. How do you keep your balance between rest, baby, and life? How do you deal with feeling overwhelmed? Has it been lonely at all? It is a conscious effort to find the balance. You have to completely reorganize how you do things and restructure your day-to-day life. What worked for you before having a baby is probably not going to work for you after having a baby. Let your partner wash the baby. They're gonna be fine. They're gonna figure it out. You figured it out, and like no one told you what to do. Like you figured it out. And the same goes if you have your parents, your siblings, people that are watching your child, like just let them. They're gonna figure it out. Make time to go and do things with your friends, with your spouse, by yourself. Make time to go get your hair done, your nails done, like those sort of things. How do you deal with feeling overwhelmed? I kind of touched on this before. I literally sat down and wrote out everything I felt like needed to get done, and then realized that some of them were like dumb and frivolous, and just crossed those off. Sometimes it's just the act of like writing it down and making lists. You get it out of your brain, and then that helps with you feeling overwhelmed. And you can have like a master like to-do list that you reference back to, like, oh yeah, I wanted to, paint the outside of the house. Like obviously that's not super pressing, and no one's going to die today if I don't paint the outside of the house. How easy is it to keep up with work, even if it's part-time work from home? How exhausting is it? I'd like to work in my own cafe as much as possible while baby wearing. You're not gonna have that much time unless you have someone helping you. You're going to have to reel in your expectations of how much time you're going to have to work with a baby. Do as much as you can before the baby comes to prepare your work. If you can get work done before they come, do as much as possible to just give yourself that time to rest and relax. You're not going to be able to work a full day unless someone is watching your child. Like if it's on you, you're gonna get a couple hours in if you're lucky. Okay, and then there was 2 cycle questions. How do you manage to take your temps with sleep interrupted? And was charting and understanding your cycle as birth control hard after birth? I didn't chart for the first 6 months of his life. I was just very careful. As far as taking your temperature goes, eventually your baby is going to have at least one long stretch of sleep at night, and it usually goes from like their 10 p.m. feeding. First might wake up at 2 a.m. Eventually it's gonna get to like 4 a.m. So once you get that 3 to 4 hours where you're actually getting sleep, not your baby sleeping, you're actually getting 3 to 4 hours of sleep, that's when you want to take your temperature. Even if it's like in the middle of the night, if it's 3 a.m., 4 a.m., like take your temperature. That's what I started doing, but I didn't really start consistently temping and charting until recently. But using charting as birth control for me has been pretty easy once I actually did start charting. Like it's been very easy because my cycle returned to normal so quickly. I got my first period postpartum at 10 weeks, had consistent regular cycles from that point on. Relationships. There was a lot of questions about how it has affected Michael and I. I would say that it has made us closer in a way. We still bicker and fight like normal people. Sometimes it's over dumb stuff because you're just tired. It's brought us together on a different level. And I would say especially in those early days of just being delirious from lack of sleep, we have our inside jokes because of Theo and about us. And so I would definitely say it's made us closer in a way. Coping with being a wife and a mom at the same time. So during the day, it's usually you feel much more like a parent. We try to do things as a family, which I think is important. You switch over to feeling like a partner and like a wife after the baby is asleep. When you get your bedroom back, it's such a turning point to like getting back to like, okay, yeah, we're husband and wife again. How do you keep up with friendships when all you can think about is your baby? I mean, granted, a lot of the time people are very curious about how it's going. They ask you questions and so you can talk about it. But I found that like it's very important to listen. I'm a big listener. And so making sure you're asking questions about like how their life is going, what they're up to. It's hard because it's so all consuming at first. Having femhead and having things outside of being a mom has helped my friendships, and just making sure you're making time for friends. Leave the baby with your partner or with your guys' parents and go and be with your friends without the baby. I always say like I can't be an adult and have conversations while I'm caring for Theo, because your brain is like when you're caring for a baby and you can't focus on like your friend and your conversation. So making sure that you're having time where you're not caring for your baby and they're just not there. Use of cloth diapers. We've really enjoyed cloth diapers. We started using them when he was 10 days old. We do pre-folds and diaper covers. I know I can remember that. Traveling with a baby and where to even begin. You just gotta do it. Our thought process with it is if we started him young, then he would just be used to it. People are very forgiving and kind when you're traveling with a kid, especially a baby. So just take advantage of that. And it's fun to create those memories. And then my final section, it's hard. When does it get easier? I'm 5 weeks in and I'm tired. It starts getting easier when your baby starts sleeping longer stretches at night. So doing everything you can to help them sleep longer stretches at night is when it's going to get easier. If you're struggling, ask for help. It might be hard right now with everything going on. Don't want a bunch of people around your newborn baby, but it does get easier. And I always would tell myself, like, when something really sucked, I'm like, this is just a phase. This isn't going to last forever. Like, I'm not going to never sleep again, or I'm not going to have to pump and rip my nipples off for the rest of my life. It's only temporary. Do you have to plan around baby? Yes, you totally do have to plan around them. But once again, another reason to have them on a schedule routine, so you know around the times when things happen, so you can say the best time for you to come watch them so I can go get my haircut would be this time. And to know like, okay, he's gonna need to eat this many times, he's gonna need to go down to bed at this time is just super beneficial. And to know like we have to be home before 7 to put him down to bed. Some people could see it as like restricting. I find it freeing, empowering to be like, yeah, I know when things need to happen, that way I can plan around it. But also you can be flexible with it. He takes 2 naps a day right now, but sometimes if we're like out and about, he might take like 3 shorter naps during the day. So you just have to be flexible and kind of like watch and listen to your baby. And then the final question, what were the first 24 to 48 hours like with a newborn and what prepares you? Whew. I gave birth in a hospital. He was born at 3 a.m. So we were there for, I think, 2 days total. One thing that was really helpful while we were at the hospital is accepting the help of the nurses. Like, these women are trained very well in caring for newborn babies. So let them help you, ask them questions. And we sent Theo to the nursery both nights that we were there. I don't know, some people see it as selfish sending your baby to the nursery, but I see it as like you have done such like a physical thing, like running a marathon and then some, because your body may have tore open in some way or had to be cut open in some way. And so you have just gone through so much that you need to rest and you need to sleep, and you're going to have plenty of time to be up in the middle of the night with your baby. So let someone else be up in the middle of the night with your baby and change their diapers in the middle of the night and just have them bring them to you to feed. But other than that, like during the days, everyone just comes and visits you. One thing I think is very important to have a list of people that you're going to tell and the people that you're going to invite. Make sure it's just like a very tiny amount of people, like your closest friends and your closest family members. Don't feel like you have to invite everybody, because even just like a handful of people is going to feel overwhelming. You're really sore. Sitting back down onto the bed was spicy. The first time I peed after giving birth, the nurse had to like press down on my stomach. Because I got an epidural, I had to be helped from my bed to the toilet the first 2 times. I felt fine. And so there was a nurse on either side. And I remember like getting up and then just collapsing into one of the nurses because my legs just gave out. Just make sure you're taking your Advil or whatever it is, taking your Colace or whatever stool softener you have. Like, that's very important. Doing as much as you can to care for yourself. Oh, enjoying those newborn like day-old baby. You're just in a daze. Like, you can't believe that this baby is yours. Like, you've been like imagining them, you know, wondering what they're gonna look like. For us, like, wonder if it was gonna be a boy or girl for 9 months, and to just finally be like, it's happened. There's also like a holy crap moment, but it's just, yeah, it's good. It's nice. It's okay to feel like crap. It's okay to not like today. Today was really hard. They were really crabby. Wouldn't nap at all. It was really difficult. I didn't get anything done. My house is a mess. Like, I'm breaking out. I'm losing my hair. Just be kind to yourself. I think Theo is waking up, so that is my cue to get off here. Thank you so much to everyone who sent in questions. I hope I covered them all and covered the topics you guys were curious about. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!